And here's why. If you transform the belief of your audience, you'll never have to sell again. And that's what you're not going to hear that common, because everybody teaches how to sell, how to convert somebody from a warm lead or a cold lead to someone who just wants what it is that you have. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that you have the exact framework that I use every single day. And that framework has allowed me to start multiple businesses successfully, sell them, start more businesses. It allowed me to go from selling a $27 masterclass to signing $16,000 client in less than 2 months. These all come from story. And so let's first identify a little bit about story. And if you expected to show up and see like a slide presentation, not going to happen. So take some notes. Story has been the facilitator of transferring knowledge since the beginning of time. We started with story way back before we had a written language. Loretta can appreciate this. As an artist, much of the storytelling done was in pictorial form. It was imagery that told the story. Now, if that law of first mention in our life, it always says, what was the original intent? What was the purpose of communication? Well, when we look back and realize that it was about imagery, that'll give you a clue as to how we need to tell our stories. Because when we tell a story, we need to create in their mind the picture, the story that they can watch. Because if they can't see it, they can't become a part of it. And this is a writer-downer. Write this down. When my story becomes their story, my lesson becomes their lesson. And when they learn what I learned, they'll be in the perfect position to go where I am. Because in our businesses, in what we do, in the offers that we provide, what we're doing is we're inviting people to be in the area of success that we're currently living. If you're selling a program that promises an outcome, you should have received that outcome, right? Who wants to sell a program that promises an outcome that you have not received yet? Nobody. Wang's like, I wouldn't mind. See, now he's self-conscious. I catch these things, Wang. So, Wang, give me your reasoning that you raised your hand and then put it down. A little bit louder.
Yeah, I need to unmute my microphone, right? Yeah, I was thinking there has been promises from a program, but the promise has not been delivered, right? Yeah, I have been there. So that's why the
Okay.
and because yeah.
Okay, so you were acknowledging that you've been in that situation. Yeah. But what we want to be able to do is we want to speak from our own experience. If I try and sell you something based on Daniel's results, now I have to create credibility for Daniel to make myself be credible so that you'll believe in what Daniel used. That's 3 points of separation. But if I just walk up to you and I say, hey, I started eating this style diet and I noticed that my energy level went through the roof. My focus has been amazing. You can't argue my story. I just shared my experience with you. Now, that's the scenario, and we're going to hot seat one person in the room. So the first, I'm going to call on the first person to raise their hand.
I'll go.
All right, Loretta, I want you to pick one person in the room at random, and I'm going to put them in the hot seat.
Okay.
See, now it's not my
I
fault.
want to pick, I don't, let me see names. Erica.
Erica. I told you we loved you. All right, Erica. Here is the situation. You have found a new diet. It has increased your energy and given you laser focus. Sell Mary on your diet. I want y'all to watch how this plays out.
Hi, Loretta. How have you? What would you say would be a great way for you to, or for you to look at it, or a way for you to look at a diet or anything? What would be a good outcome for you to look at that? Would you even look at a new story or a new diet if you wanted to do that?
So are you talking to me or Mary?
Yes, to you, Loretta. Yes.
She misdialed Loretta, but you just picked up.
Oh gosh. But wait, there's confusion.
No, just go ahead. Go ahead. Just keep going, Loretta.
Okay, so you're asking me what would be good for me as a diet? What I think would be a good diet? All right, I would like to lose 1 pound a week. And I think a good diet for me would probably be looking at cutting out the bad things that I am addicted to and getting a taste for the good things that I should be eating.
Okay. Would it be good if the diet that you introduce will help you with your energy levels by simply just changing a couple of items in your food items in your current meals, just supplementing them with something that's more beneficial to you?
No, so you're saying how would that be a good idea? You're asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it would, but it's hard to do. It's tricky. That's what I want to find out, how to condition myself to want those good things instead of, let's go have ice cream.
I'm not sure where you want this
Okay.
to go.
I think that's a really good start point for the example. Now,
No.
who do I want to pick on? Krista, pick one person for me to throw under the bus.
Oh, okay.
She's normally the one I throw under the bus, so this is a freebie.
It's exciting for me. No, he's not going to be happy with me, but I'm going to say Huang.
Huang. Okay. Bring, bring, click. Huang. How you doing, brother?
Hello, I did not expect that. Way to go, Krista. Yeah.
Hey, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing amazing, man.
Oh, that's what I love to hear. That's why I enjoy getting together with you, because you're health conscious, just like I am. And I just wanted to share something with you. It was really cool. About 3 weeks ago, I ran into a friend of mine, and I was sharing with him my struggle about, my dietary habits. And I tend to get wrapped up in the things that I really enjoy. And he shared with me a couple hacks that really helped me reframe the way that I thought about food. And then he introduced some alternatives that I could try as far as like dietary wise. And as a result, it's just been really cool. And I know you can appreciate this being a martial artist, is I would get up in the morning, and instead of grabbing my first cup of coffee like I normally would and pour it in sugar and creamer, I actually got this coffee with shiitake mushrooms in it, and which I know sounds odd, but was really good. And I started using less cream because something in the shiitake kind of just gave it more of a full flavor. And then he said, replace your sugar with honey. And he says it's easier for the body to digest. It keeps your blood levels from the sugar levels from shooting up. And as a result, I noticed I wasn't getting that heavy sugar crash. But because of the mushroom that was in there, it also has less caffeine in the coffee. So there was less of a jarring shift. I didn't have the jitters. When I went into work, I realized I was super focused and I had a much higher level. And I thought that was really cool. But the one thing I didn't realize was a side effect. Over the last 3 weeks, I've actually dropped 4.3 pounds and I haven't even changed my workout diet at all. And in eliminating some of the things that I was eating simply because he showed me how to reframe what I was thinking or what I thought about those foods, I realized I started experimenting with different types of foods. Do you know there's a lot of really good foods out there that actually have low calorie content but high nutrition? I thought everything was ding dongs and little Debbie Swiss rolls. But yeah, my whole diet has completely changed. I'm more energetic. I'm more focused. And I just wanted to chat with you and see if you used some of those things within your diet plan. And if not, would you be open to talking with me a little bit more about it and seeing if we could help you implement that for you? Because I know it would definitely help in your martial arts training.
Yeah, count me on, man. I needed it right now. Yeah.
What was the difference between my presentation and the way that Eric shared her presentation?
You told your own experience about the product itself, and that made Wang and even me convinced that I want to try.
Now, what happens when you tell a story in an eavesdropper all of a sudden wants in too? Somebody that overheard it wants in too. Now, just curious, if y'all were sitting in a restaurant around Huang and my table and you heard that conversation, how many of you, by a raise of hands, would have piqued interest in what I was talking about? Okay. And I'm going to pretend that Mary and Gregory raised their hand. Oh, Mary got her hand up. Awesome. Okay. Now, why? Who can tell me about my diet? What was I eating? Anybody?
Coffee with mushroom.
Coffee and mushroom, right? One little tweak, one little hint at a change that I made. But how did I sell you all on wanting more information?
The outcome, your experience of the outcome.
I told you a story
the
about
side
my
effects.
outcome.
The side effect of the.
Yeah, that's the outcome. I mean, nobody wants to go on a diet. Nobody wants another course. We want the outcome that comes with it. We want the result. We want to see Mary's beautiful face. Isn't that nice? Hi, you. So when we're telling our story, if we tell our story in such a way that you guys get to feel how I feel, you get to enjoy that experience with me. How many of you feel you could understand what I was experiencing? Now, secondary question. How many of you felt an increase in your energy level while listening to the story? And you weren't even drinking my coffee.
Yeah.
See, because when you experience my experience, you also get to experience what I experienced. But that's being able to tell that story in such a way, right? Loretta, when you paint those pictures, I can feel the emotion that you have behind your paintings. Because yes, I stalk the heck out of you. Anytime somebody introduced into my space, I'm like geeking out. Let me learn about them. Let me see who they are. See, when you put that emotion into what you do, when you do it well, others feel that emotion. But they'll feel that emotion from their perspective. I had a conversation. I shared a story with a good friend of Huang's yesterday, and he fully understood the depth of the pain and the joy that I was experiencing immediately after the death of my son. And he said, that completely changed how I see that type of experience. It just changed who I am. And I was like, so you understand, you felt what I felt as a father holding my lifeless son. He's like, yeah. And I said, and yet you have no children. He was actually able, through my story, able to experience something that is impossible for him to experience without me. So how do we tell a story? What's the framework that we use to tell a story? A, get raw, get real with how you feel in your story. Don't tell Daniel's story. Daniel's story is going to be boring when I tell it, because it's not mine. It's not going to have my personal experience. It's not going to have my emotions. I'm not going to be connected to the people inside that story. So don't tell Daniel's story. Let Daniel tell his story. Don't try and tell Erica's story. You'll never feel the weight of everything going on in her life. So how would you convey that to someone else? Whatever you do, don't try and tell my story. They'll think you're crazy. You know? But what you do is identify the story, say, how did this make me feel? And just like right now, right? This is a secret most people won't tell you about presenting online. Your job is not to get the room energetic and engaged. Your job is to create enough energy to carry the entire room for them. And to do that, you've got to deliver with 10 times the amount of intensity and emotion that you guys are all receiving on the other end. Because you don't get to be in the room with me. Is we create the energy and then we share it with other people. Right? So as I was talking to Huang, right, what did we do? We identified, hey, Huang, there's this amazing thing that happened in my life. But I don't say, there's this amazing thing that happened in my life, because I'm trying to make myself sound excited. I'm just really freaking excited because I've got higher energy level, greater focus. I've lost weight. My sex life has been great with my wife because I'm more focused, more attentive, and more present in everything that I do. And I want to share this with my friend because he'll understand. And that energy comes through the conversation. But why would I share that with Huang?
Because you want him to feel what you felt.
That's right. And why do I want him to feel what I felt?
Because through this feeling, he can get to the same lessons and the same insights that you've had.
Well, why do I want him to have the same insights and the same lessons?
Because that way you'll be able, well, first of all, it will make the offer a lot easier, but then he'll also, be in the position in which he wants to take you up on your offer. Instead of you trying to sell them on something, he'll actually want it because he'll just feel like it's the right fit.
Nope. You missed the most important part. Loretta?
You care about him.
Because I care about
Mm.
it. If I miss that part, I'm just a salesperson using a sales tactic to try and manipulate him into buying something that I need to sell. But when I show up and I share that with him and I want him to experience that, yes, Daniel, all of those other things are true. But none of them will be done effectively if I don't care about the person I'm talking to. Everybody else in the room knows that I shared that because I cared about it. You know that. You know that. You feel that. We have calls. You understand that. The littlest things that you do will make the hugest impact in someone's life. So as we talk about story, how many of you immediately thought about, how do I talk to somebody? What do I say? What is the framework? What order do I put certain things in place to make the story compelling so that they'll buy? How many thought, story, he's going to teach me how to tell the story? Anybody? I know Mary did. She's like, I'm process. Teach me process. But imagine how much more powerful that was for Daniel, because he was allowed to do what? He was allowed to become part of my story. Okay, so when you do things like this, as you're talking, I've talked to some people when we used to do sales calls way back when, right? And I was on the sales call and I'm in the middle of it. And as I'm talking and I'm sharing and I'm hitting all the right points and I'm doing all the right things and it's going through the flow. And then all of a sudden it was like I was talking to their brother's uncle. Like there was this complete disconnect. Have you ever been on a conversation like that where you thought everything was there? That feeling like, oh my gosh, I just totally lost connection. You remember what that felt like? How like you had just, everything that you had done was a waste of time? Guess what? Everybody shaking their head right now just became part of the story I was telling. You were all emotionally connected and in the middle of the story I was just telling for a simple transition that we use in our speech. You know how when you know what I mean, and what that does is it immediately takes that listener, puts them in the middle of the story, and then you continue. Okay, side note. And you're feeling like you just lost that whole conversation. That's where I was. I was going through the same thing that you experienced. All of a sudden, my story has become your story, and everything that follows, you will now associate to your old story because I've connected the two. Notice how I said, this is my story. You know how when blank and you feel this way, boom, now you're part of it. And then I say, I was going through the very same thing you felt. Now it's gone from my story, join my story. Now I'm part of your story. And then you give the change. But then I met a mentor one time. And he showed me that the connection wasn't about the process. It was about connecting with the individual. And if you're truly connected with somebody, even when things go downhill, you don't separate. You've got to have a foundation over connecting over something specific. Like here in this room, we're connected over one thing. Now I know some of you are thinking, yeah, we're here about stories. No, you're not. You're here because you want to impact the lives of the people that you touch. Maybe it's through sharing your story. Maybe it's through selling your product or a course or giving somebody an opportunity. But you're here because you want to help them. So as we tell our stories, we want to invite them to become part of our story so that when we teach that lesson, they begin to be a recipient of that same lesson. And what happens is they go from not understanding anything to seeing how it would work, to experience the solution through you, and then understand that it's possible for them. And when all of that is in place, the only next logical step is to join the person who already got the result that they're looking for. And you're right there. And since you've already walked them through the first 3 steps, you're the logical person to join. Does that make sense to everybody? When we invite them into our story, they experience our outcome through that story. And that's what makes it believable that it's possible for them. Because until they can experience or see themselves in that outcome, they're not going to believe that it's possible. And you'll see this in sales presentations all day long. But they spend 15 minutes of a 1-hour training trying to hype you up into believing that you too can make millions, right? It's all hype to try and get you past that belief point. All they really have to do is just get you to experience that result through their story. And it's a lot more ethical because it's not false belief, it's true belief. It's like, oh, if I can do this in my life, then I believe that you can as well. And if I believe that you can, and I've experienced, and we've connected to the point where they see they're part of our journey, but they don't have what we have, that means that it's attainable because they've been doing everything in that journey with you. They just haven't got that yet. So it just makes sense. Well, I've accomplished and experienced everything he did up to this point. Why don't I just join him where he's at so I can experience that as well? Because without belief, there will be no action. So we have to get them to believe that it's possible. And if they walk the journey with us through our story, then they'll believe that if they do what we did, it's possible for them. And what's the best way to do what Chad did? Join Chad. You know, do what Chad did. How do you know? Asking. How do we learn? How do I get the result that Mary got? Hang out with Mary. You'll see what she did. You'll see how she does it. You'll see how she talks. You'll see how she sets up these summits and does it with such ease. Why? Because she's great at what she does. Yeah, you don't have to do it. I'll do it for you. Oh, I'm sorry. That was a pat on the back. There is nothing to sell. What if your point is service? And if somebody experiences the outcome that you provide and you never make the offer, you know what happens?
Nothing.
They ask.
Yes, they ask.
They ask because you have proven that you know how to get the result that they want. You've showed up and served them, which gives them the opportunity to trust you. You've demonstrated your ability to transform, therefore they will open up to you. Now you're talking to them as a human being, and like we mentioned with Daniel, they've got to know that you care about them first. And even if something comes up in business and finances in the world falls apart, they'll still turn around and say, what can we do to make sure that we can continue to work together? Because they know that you care. You don't have to sell. What you have to do is change their belief. When you change their belief, they're already seeking the answer. I mean, Krista wouldn't have to sell me on counseling. If I have a problem, I'm going to go to Krista because I have watched how she's touched lives inside of our trainings just when she connects and communicates with individuals. There are certain things that I am going to talk to Kwang about. And here's the great thing, not because he demonstrated it in any way to me whatsoever. I wouldn't even know what he could do based on what he said or did in front of me. But I've connected with people who know Kwang and said, this is what he has done in and for my life. He didn't even have to sell. He just showed up and served other people, and other people told me how amazing he was. You don't have to sell if you effectively tell story to change the belief. And changing a belief is very simple. It's telling a story that supports whatever is necessary for that person to believe to take the next step. How many people here believe that I can get an outcome. Not a specific outcome, but an outcome. Okay. Loretta, I'm going to ask you because you're one of the newest in my space as of this morning, right? Why do you believe that?
I believe that because there's a sense with you have confidence, and I believe the confidence is real, that you're confident in what you do. You believe what you do. I have all of these people who are saying that they believe in what you do. And especially that story that you did with Wang about, hope I'm saying your name right, with the coffee, you know, Wang. So yeah, you've demonstrated it.
Okay. And it all came through what? Somebody gets a bonus. The first one to answer this properly gets a bonus. What caused it?
Story.
Who said it?
Me.
Mary.
Mary Jean.
There you go. Okay. Mary, you win. Here's a big hug.
Really?
Right. Story. The story I told Wang. The story Krista told you. The story Ritz told you. Daniel told you. Wang told you. These are all through story. Story is shared experience. Story isn't data. You realize that story has been told for eons, but most importantly, story has been told and changes the belief, culture, and societies through a simple narrative, simple story. It's being used in the masses every single day. Look at your news and media. And we're not going to go all deep into political stuff, but we'll just say here in Wisconsin, if you watch the news, man, people are getting sick left and right up here. If you live here, I couldn't even tell you anybody that I know in Wisconsin that's actually gotten sick from the latest bug. It just isn't happening. But the news would have you believe that it is, because it's a story that supports their narrative. And their narrative is what they want you to believe. Now, here's the key. You can use your story to support your narrative. And your narrative is what you want your audience to believe. And here's my qualifier, my caveat. Don't ever create a narrative that is not based in truth. So what we do is we find out what is it that must be believed for them to take the next step with me. So first they have to understand that they have a problem. Then they have to understand that the problem they have needs to be solved. Then they have to believe that you've been able to solve the problem for you, believe that you've been able to help somebody else solve their problem, and then believe that you could possibly help them solve their problem, and ultimately believe that it would be impossible for me to fail with Gregory. First, they have to believe that it's needed. Okay. Second, they have to believe that it's possible. And that process is, it's possible for you. It's possible for others. It's possible for them. And it's impossible to fail if I just had Mary. Because each of those, not one of those can be believed without the one before. They have to follow through that transformation of belief. Ready, Gregory?
I'll try my best. I have a really short story to tell. Okay. I hope I'm in this for the learning, so it won't be perfect.
So it's all good.
So I used to make content without knowing what I'm doing. I used to just launch videos on YouTube and get low views. I used to get frustrated from making these videos, but 1 year later, something clicked, and I had a mentor who was a very big YouTuber who helped me to tweak my videos to generate views. And in the end, I found a way to generate good videos that perform really well over time. I systemized it. And since then, I understood that there's actually a system to perfect the content you create. There's actually a way that I found to strategize your content over time and tweak it until you find something that works for you and for your narrative.
How many people feel like he's selling you right now?
I didn't. I felt like he was telling his story. I was into it. I'm like, oh, really? Okay.
Okay. So this tells you there's certain ways to communicate that will resonate with certain people. But look at the mass of the room. We felt the sales pitch. There's a technique, there's a process, there's a standard, there's this thing. I met this great guy. He does really great. He taught me. I can teach you. And don't worry, it's not your fault. It's the programming that you see every single day, all day long on social media. I'm going to talk to Mary because she's all about Facebook ads and only buying traffic. Right, Mary? Right, Mary? Right,
No,
Mary?
I'm not.
Yes, you are. Okay, hypothetically, yes, she is.
Okay, fine. If you insist.
Yes, this is what you will believe. Hey, Mary, I noticed that you're putting up your ads again. How are those going?
It's been a problem.
Yeah.
I'm very frustrated. The ads are expensive. I don't really know what's working, I don't really know how they're supposed to work.
You know, when I started a while ago, I was in that frame where it was just buy traffic and send ads out and try and get people into my funnel. And I was looking, there was somebody else, his ads looked a lot like my ads. He was making bank and I was making nothing. And I started following his content and I noticed there was something that he was doing different. It wasn't just his ads. I was just doing ads, but he had content on his platform that was really cool. There was no selling. It wasn't instructional. It was very engaging. And I started looking at his content and reading, trying to figure out what it was that was making the difference. And eventually I got on a phone call with him. And I was like, dude, we're both running ads. We're running a similar product to a similar audience. You're killing it, bro. What is going on? And he just started laughing. And I'm like, what is so funny? He goes, you know, I've been watching your profile too. He says, you got a lot of really good ads. In fact, I've actually copied some of your ads because they were really, really good. And I'm like, if my ads are what you're copying, why are you making money and I'm not? And he said, because you haven't connected to your audience. He says, by the time the people see my ads, they already trust me. I was like, what do you mean? He says, I write content that connects me emotionally with my audience. And then when they trust me and they see my ads, there's no second guess. They just automatically go through. And I learned the power of actually creating content that converts my audience, not into a sale, but into a connection. Because too many times we see audience as somebody to sell to instead of human beings that we can connect with. And you know, like my wife, she does artwork. First people to buy her artwork every single time, mom, her sister, and my mom. Why? Because they're connected. They have a connection beyond, hey, I've got a picture. They have something that they share in common. So I recommend, don't throw the ads out. They're super powerful for leverage, but I definitely encourage you to explore different options about how to use your content to connect with your audience and make them warm before they ever see your ads. In fact, there's a gentleman I know, he's over from Israel by the name of Gregory. I'd be happy to do a 3-way introduction for you where he could help you form your content in a way that would really warm up your audience and help you get a much better response rate and thus lower the cost of your ads and increase the profitability in your business. Would you be interested in that connection?
Oh, yeah. That would be a big help. Thank you very much.
Gregory, do you see the difference?
My mind is blown. That was really amazing.
Okay, do you feel the difference?
Of course, yeah. And the fact you did it like on the go, it was very impressive.
Oh, I didn't do this on the go. This took me 26 years.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Okay. And I always like to mention that because a lot of people is like, oh, of course you can, you. And it says, yeah, me. I've been doing this for over a quarter century. Of course I do this a little bit more naturally. But trust me, it's not natural. My mind is processing really, really, really fast when we run through these scenarios. But Mary, how did you feel?
I felt like you understood. I felt like you really, really got the problem that I'm facing and that you really, really understood the solution and how to help me.
Do you know why Mary wasn't resistant? Beyond the fact that she's not a paid addict. But it would work no matter who I did this with. There's something that I did that I almost guarantee you guys missed. Daniel?
Maybe the fact that you made yourself relatable.
Okay, that's there. That's not what I'm talking about.
I feel like it's something like, I can't exactly remember what you said, but that little transition of the thing you talked about, you know, when you feel like blah, blah, blah. And I can't remember when you did it, but that's, thinking back, I felt it.
I did it a lot of times.
Okay. That's, yeah.
I'm just
tricky.
really good
It's
at
so
sliding
subtle.
them in.
It's subtle, man.
What? Okay, Daniel?
Maybe the fact that you showed actual concern before actually promoting or offering anything.
Mm-hmm.
Actually told her, like, ask her how her ads are going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're on the right track. You're on the right track. Who here told her that ads are the wrong way to go? I never told her that ads weren't the right way to go. I offered what I learned to help get better results for what she was already doing. I didn't say not your way. I didn't have to change her mind. I said, what I'm doing might really help you do what you're doing. There's no resistance because I haven't asked her to change anything. I just offered to help her make it better. What'd she tell me? They're hard, they're expensive, and I'm not getting my results. I said, change your audience connection and you'll get better results faster and reduce your cost. I sold her on what she already believed.
Mhm.
It's easy to sell somebody something else when they've lost their desire to do what they're doing. They've decided this doesn't work.
Mhm.
She didn't tell me that. She said, it's been rough.
Mhm.
It's been hard. And these are the things that I'm facing. If it's rough and it's hard, it means I'm still trying this. I still believe in it, but there's something that I need to figure out.
Mhm.
Oh, well, here's something that might help you in your current efforts. Now, the cool thing, if you do your content right and you take Gregory's advice, you're probably going to start gaining clients before they ever see your ads. And thus, you'll go, hey, wait, I don't need to run all these ads if I'm getting clients directly through my content. She'll come to her own conclusion on that. But for me to introduce something new, it's easy to introduce something new that complements what they already believe and then allow that experience to change their belief. And that'll be really easy because I shared my experience with her. So now she'll have two experiences to change a hard set belief. So in the line of using the story, do you understand, Gregory, that it's about sharing a story, not convincing someone? It's allowing them to become part of your experience, not creating something that you didn't experience, hoping it will convince them.
Yes, I understand this. It's a big mindset shift for me that for now I'm just like a sponge. I'm getting all the information and I let this resonate with me.
Mhm.
And I hope by the end of the meeting, something will move in my brain towards this mindset.
Okay. Who wants to be hot seated? So we as a room will help you identify the required beliefs for your audience. Ooh. Yeah, don't hold back, Mary. I do. Okay. So, in order for us to understand the identifying beliefs that are required, and you know me, well, some of you know me. I ask you questions so that you learn better, make you think. How do we identify what Mary's audience must believe?
Ask
What do
Mary.
What do you have to know?
We have to know what Mary does.
How would we do that, Krista?
Probably ask.
And what would that sound like, Krista?
Hi, Mary. What kind of how do you serve your audience?
Oh, I'm supposed to answer? Oh, sorry.
Nope. We're going to ask the question and then guess.
Oh my God. Okay. So I am a business strategist. I work with service-based entrepreneurs. So what I do is help them to identify their zone of genius, map out a strategy that they can execute to double their profits, their current revenue, that is, within the next 90 days, without increasing their workload or increasing the stress levels.
Who wants to give her a hand for an elevator pitch?
I did well.
It's a nice elevator pitch. Hey, Mary, if I work with you, what's my outcome? What do I get? Not how do you get it? What do I get?
You will make more money, you'll work less.
Who understands that versus the elevator pitch? Who wants that? I'm leaving my hand up, Mary, just, in case you need a case study. Do a little dance, get down tonight. Okay, so we have to understand, people have to believe that it's what? What do they have to believe before they're going to work with Mary if that's what she provides?
Question
More
for me or
money,
for the
less
room?
time. What do they have to believe?
Oh, okay.
That is possible.
Okay. What else? Daniel?
That they need that plan that she's building with them in order to get that.
Okay, they need a plan. Okay, what else? Fritz?
That she already done it. She can show some results.
Okay, it's possible, and she can get people results. Okay, Krista?
That it's an issue and we actually want that.
Ooh, that they need more money or more time freed up. Yeah, because if what she's offering is something that you don't need, then you're not going to buy. Core right there. I put that right back to the beginning, right? You have to identify, do they want more money and do they want more time? And no, Daniel, no lapping. Not everybody wants more money. And yeah.
Another thing that they have to believe is that they're guaranteed to get there if they hire Mary.
Okay. Then they have to believe it. That's that last step. It's impossible to not get that result if I have Mary.
Mhm.
Okay. So what do we do? We've got, and we're not going to go through each and every one of these beliefs. Okay. But Mary, you're writing these down, right?
Right. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
on top of it.
Now, I want you to put them in order, Mary.
Mhm.
What has to be believed before they believe this? What do they have to believe before this? Make sure they're in order and get down to the original belief that we have to deal with. The first thing that should be on your list, and I'll give you a start point. Actually, this will be your end point because you need to work backwards. So the very first thing that they have to believe is that they need more money and more time. Now, we have 9 people in the room. 4 of you are going to tell me one story that supports that belief. One belief or the other, that they need more time or they need more money. Share a story with me that makes me believe that one of those 2 outcomes are necessary. Gregory, you're off the hook because I already made you do story time. Krista, you're always on the hook. Erica,
Yep.
you're off the hook because we already picked on you with the sales. Lang, you're in learning mode, so you're always on the hook. Come on, one story from your life that supports one of those 2 beliefs. Okay. Is there anybody in the room that's never felt they didn't need more money? Okay, so everybody has felt they've needed more money. Raise your hand and tell me a story and tell me why that was needed. That's all. Okay, somebody pick. Go ahead.
Just go.
Yep.
Okay. So I don't know. I'm talking to you, right? Like,
Yeah, you're talking in a room. Tell us.
okay,
Make us
awesome.
believe it.
So, I love working with people, and sometimes I wonder if I'm pricing my services well. It can make it really hard when you're booking and doing these services, such as talking to people. It takes up a lot of time. Mine's more time related, but I haven't figured out a way to serve that allows me to reach the audience that I would like. Because I love working one-on-one with people, and with my history in working in mental health, burnout happens so easily. You're connecting with people and you're sorting through. And at the end of the day, putting in all of this work and winding up with low finances and frustration over those finances, it can be hard to really keep going because, not having the resources to serve as many people as I would like. A bad story. Or am I just explaining at this point? Chad, your face is driving me nuts. Oh,
Anybody in the room
Right
convinced
away.
yet? Or do you just feel like you're in a worse place than when you started? I feel no hope that there is a light on the other end of her tunnel.
Mhm. I'm feeling the frustration of her industry. I never want to be there.
oh. All right.
Well,
I-
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so just stop there. Like we all know, the best thing that we can do when we start digging a hole is just stop and climb back
Okay.
up. Okay? You can't dig yourself out of a hole.
Okay.
Okay. So where was the problem? Did we connect with Mary on the frustration that you had felt? Yes. Did you leave her in that muck and mire? Yes. and you stayed there so long, she had time to come to the conclusion she never wants to be in that industry ever. Connect and then give them hope.
Okay.
Same story. In my business, when I first started out, I realized that due to my pricing, I was either lacking in one of area. Either I didn't have the finances to reach out and bring more clients in through advertising, or I didn't have the time to go out and find new clients. And at the end of the month, I was always felt like I was lacking one of two things, either the finance or the time to get more, because I was spending so much more time working with clients because I wasn't making enough. And what I found was there was a simple shift in not only how I served, I shifted from one-to-one to a one-to-many style. That freed me up to have a lot more time. And I also found that it was giving much more value to my clients by being within community. And I was able to raise my prices. So just a simple process of changing how I approached the way that I did my business freed me up more. I had more money, I had more time, and I was much more at peace. I never realized the stress that I was feeling before I made that shift. And I had no idea how much better my life would be if I had additional finances. Like when my car broke down, most people freak out and say, how am I going to live? And I just went, hey, could you guys come pick it up and fix it? They dropped off a loaner, they took the car. I didn't even think twice about it. I just went back to work. And when I needed something, I hopped in the rental and went. It was life-changing when I understood that I had been living underneath this weight of low finances and a lack of time. And I saw an amazing sense of freedom when I stepped outside of that. How many people want more time and more money in their life right now? Would you be willing to step into my arena, Mary? Would you be interested in actually doing what it was that I do, rather than saying, I never want to go into that industry? Same thing. What we did is we shared the frustration, but then we shared the result of getting past that barrier. So if we only share the problem, we just instill a deeper belief in the problem, which creates an obstacle. But if we identify the problem, connect with them over that, provide a solution and show the outcome of using the solution, now they're like, yeah, this is hard, but I could reach that other side if I do what they did. That's how we shift that story of belief. And I watched that. If you guys are watching the room like I do, you watch a shift in the people as we told that story. Because they saw the possibility, they saw an outcome. Okay?
I thought so.
Tell me a story.
Yeah. Just pardon me because English is not my first language, so I'm gonna try. When I started in this online business, I'm still actually in my 9 to 5. So that means I'm a busy person. I'm a mom as well. And I started as a VA. Then I shift into as a technical VA because I am trying to connect what I'm doing in real life to what I want to become in social media. All right. So my problem is financial in the sense that I am an overseas Filipino worker. When we say that, I'm working here in Malaysia. I'm a Filipino. I'm working in Malaysia, working for someone else, saving money and sending money back home. That's my life. Okay. Not only that I'm sending money back home, I'm also spending money for my own family. So money is a little bit scarce, and putting money into my business is, where will I find it? Right? I have to get it from my own salary if there's still something that is left. All right. So what I did was, before I learned about automating something in my business, right? I was doing everything manually, connecting to people, manually, like spending so much time in connecting and adding friends and all that. So that means my time for my son is gone. Okay. I spend more time in social media than spending time talking to my son after work. So that is not a life that I would want for years and years to come. So what I did, I studied automation, which is kind of related to what I do in real life. And I applied it in my business. And it did wonders for me because then I gained time, more time. And then I was able to talk to many people because I did it automatically already. I'm able to find the people that I want to talk to, and money is now coming in, flowing without me actually selling anything because I have proven it to them. I have shown it to them that, automation works, and it is a game changer in my business, and it can be for others. So now I go by referral. I don't go after people now. They go ask me now for help and strategy. So that's my story.
Okay. Great story. I was engaged. I was listening. You definitely resonated in 2 different points heavily with Erica. I watched her in affirmation. Did you catch it?
Yeah.
Ritzel, did you catch it when she connected with what you were saying?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they also connected with me having no time and no money to invest in my own business.
It's vital, especially when you're on a Zoom call like this, is pay attention to the room and figure out what's touching people. Okay? Now, here's what I would say, and I'm going to specifically speak to those in Malaysia, in the Philippines, in Israel, in anywhere that
Right.
is not a native English speaking area, and I want you to hear me. Okay? Because English is not your native tongue, English speaking people pay attention when you talk.
Mm,
We are
Good
more
point.
attentive when you talk. So spend less time trying to explain what you're saying. We pay more attention to you than we do our spouses. It's true. We hang on every word that you're saying because we want to make sure that we understand what you're saying. Then ask a question in the middle of your story. How many times have I said today on this call, does that make sense? Do you understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Automatically engages you to start to listen again. Like, what do you mean? Well, oh, yeah. Okay, I'm back on track. I'm listening. Those are what's called engagement statements. It draws them back into the conversation. But you don't need to over-explain because then we start thinking about all the small details and we lose what's your story about. We get lost in the details. Like I had a guy, he thought his book was so amazing as he told his story. And he told every little single detail about him at the club with his buddies, to how the spilled beer on the seat felt when he sat down and the texture of the wood and the cold temperature of the glass in his hand. And he's like, it's so amazing. It's like you're in the experience. And I'm like, I'm glad because I never made it past the 3rd page. I was like, there was no story. It was just all information. And he thought he was allowing us to be in the room. Well, if you weren't making me be in the room, you were making me look at an architectural diagram. So be relaxed in conversation. So, Ritzel, if I spoke your native tongue, would it have taken you that long, that many words
No.
to try and explain it to me?
No, not really.
No. So just focus on saying, how would I just translate what I would normally say? Not how would I explain it to the stupid English guy? Like, how would I just talk to him like a normal person? What words would I? People who care are the ones that you can serve because you care about them. The ones who don't care to pay attention don't matter. Stop wasting your breath on them. Now,
All right.
how many people? Was she talking about a lack of time or a lack of money? Which one did she discuss?
Time.
Time?
Actually, both.
Yeah, both.
Mhm.
Both, I agree.
Both. It's both.
What's easier to help somebody better understand? Two things at the same time or one?
One.
One story to support one belief. Another story to support a different belief. Because the mind can only focus on one thought or directive at a time. So it will split their attention. Can you do it? Yes. Can it be done craftfully? Yes. Can you deal with 4 or 5 beliefs at the same time with an experiential story? Would I recommend it? No. It takes years of practice to do that. Like I told you
Okay.
guys at the beginning,
Thank
how
you.
do I help people to learn? I make you answer questions. You can do that in your stories. You know how when you, yep. I mean, have you ever felt that way? Yep. Yeah, just like you, boom, connected. I was going through that experience. Now we're connected. Boom. It's amazing. 8 words can connect you for life just by connecting over an emotional situation.
Oh yeah. I believe that he is really in trouble with his finances and it's hurting. Yeah. I believe it, man.
Right?
I want to send you a check.
Okay, so it supported a solid belief, and one theme that I heard was the belief was when you dig a hole, get a job. Right? Now you could reframe that belief, and I'm going to jump right in the end because I don't want to relive that story. Right? Here's the kicker. What he didn't tell you about taking that side job is that side job is actually teaching him the very skill that has held him back in his online business. His biggest fear is making sales, like having to sell. The lesson in from his story, the way I would shift that is, as a result, I've gotten myself in such a serious financial position to where I was forced to take a different job outside of the online work in an offline space. But I took a job that, although it's not what I was focused on, I had to seek out another area that will help me improve in the thing holding me back. So sometimes when we're lacking finances, we've got to look outside of the barrier of what we normally would do. Now it's not get a job. It's explore a different way of getting the money that you need. It's a way of saying, hey, this is what I was doing, but I got stuck. So I had an idea. My coach stood by me, encouraged me to follow through with that. And now I'm on the journey of actually fixing the problem that I was stuck in by forcing myself to get better at it. Now, does that change the narrative behind this didn't work, go get a job? Now you know why he's getting the job and what that job is doing for him and what the result could be. See, here's the thing. I don't even have to believe about his success. I have to believe that he's on a journey that's getting him there. Sometimes we don't have to sell the success or the outcome. Sometimes we just have to tell him it's okay to begin the journey. Or the journey is only begun by those that believe it's possible. I would never have climbed a mountain if I didn't believe it was possible. Yet I started the first time. Since then, I've scaled multiple. But I had to believe that it was possible before I would take an action. And maybe, just maybe, maybe Mary needs to borrow my belief because she doesn't have any of her own. Mary, you can borrow my belief in you because I see your potential. I see the way you show up, even if you don't. So you can borrow my belief until yours grows. Sometimes that's what we need to do in the story is just say, hey, you know what? I did that thing. Other people would say I'm quitting the online business, but I'm not. I did the thing that was hard, which is step back from what my goal was and say, how can I approach this from another angle so that I can have success in my business? And it's a matter of reframing and shifting and saying, what is the purpose behind that action? Because as we just demonstrated, when Daniel stopped short of telling you the belief, like the reason for it, everyone in the room created their own belief around his situation. The story is there to transform a belief, not just tell your story. So telling our story, what we do is we identify a story from our life that supports the belief that we need them to have. Is that understood by everybody in the room? The purpose of story.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to pick 3 stories, and you guys get to pick which one you're going to hear about. Slapping a bear.
Oh, a bear.
Being buried alive, or the death of my son. I will tell one of those 3 stories.
I think it's 2.
Yep,
It
there's
looks
5
like
on
2.
So which one
Looks
was
like
2?
2.
Buried
2 is
alive.
being
Buried
Buried alive.
alive. Better be joyful.
You sick individuals.
I don't
But the
want
hook
it.
is very good. The hook is great.
Mary, this better be good.
No, it's the hook that got me. I think that's a lesson.
The hook? Okay.
The second hook is the lesson I learned the 3rd time I slapped a bear.
Ooh.
You did it 3 times? What is wrong with this guy? It's kind of like, you want to hear the story about being buried alive, or do you want to hear about the 2nd time I was buried alive? Which one do you want to hear about?
Uh-oh. Were you buried alive by a bear?
No, actually, I was actually buried alive 3 times. The other one doesn't need to be on record. Okay, so after I got out of the military, I was hanging out with my brother, and we were doing what, young gentlemen did when they had no direction and their entire world had fallen apart. We were sitting around smoking a joint. And we're bored, a little bit stoned. My brother looked at me and goes, I don't know, what you going to do tomorrow, man? I said, I don't know, walk to California. And he's like, all right, tell me when you get there. Well, the next morning I woke up tired, bummed, bored, no direction. And I thought to myself, I was like, well, I did tell him I was going to walk to California. Grandpa always told me a man's only as good as his word. So I grabbed a school bag that was sitting there on the coffee table, $12.73, a couple t-shirts, a pair of shorts, some socks, a pair of underwear, I think. And I walked out the door and I began to walk. And every day I got up and I just began to walk. It was almost like a prayer. It's one step after the other, one step at a time. I just kept moving. And it gave me a lot of time to think and really get introspective on my life, where I had gone. When I got out of the military, it was because I thought marriage was one man and one woman. And my wife thought it was one woman and as many men as she could find while I was at work. In the process, I lost my children, my wife, my family, because she spread lies about me that weren't true. I was alone in the world. And so I was just on this journey. I was just out for a walk. And every day I'd get up and I'd just walk. And I realized this was just too hot. So it got to the point where during the day, I would sleep. And then at night when it was cold, as it was getting colder and colder through the nights, at night, then I would do the walking because that would help me to stay warm. And it started to hit the point day after day. I was in Colorado at the time. And let's just say the nights were getting really, really cold. Elevation was getting higher. And every time the sun just started to creep down, I could feel the sting of the cold light, that air as it would just like sting at my neck because the winds were stronger around the higher mountain ridges. And I was so tired. I hadn't eaten for a couple days, and the cold was starting to really sap my strength. And I was like, I got to do something. I got to get out of this. And I looked over, and there was a mill, it was a lumber mill. And I was like, maybe there's a place I can get out of the wind. So I climbed the fence, got inside the mill, and I looked over, and there's this huge pile of sawdust. And apparently they went in there with their big scoops, and they would use this to actually power. They would burn it, and somehow they powered some of the equipment with the fire. And I was like, man, that's better than the wind. And I went in and I sat down right at the base where they had scooped out kind of this cove. And I went in there and I kind of scooped up some of the sawdust around me. And I nestled in and exhausted, low on food, low on energy, slightly dehydrated at that point. And I passed out. And the next morning, I woke to the sound of equipment, heavy equipment. And I was just sitting there and I wasn't really thinking about it. It was like, I was too cold. My joints were stiff. Everything was absolutely miserable. And I'm just listening and I'm kind of feeling the vibration of the equipment as it rolled across the ground. And then all of a sudden, everything went dark. And I felt this sharp pain in the back of my neck. I didn't realize what had happened. And I realized I couldn't see anything. I couldn't move. I was just stuck. What had happened is, due to the vibration of the heavy equipment, the sawdust pile had broken free and dropped down on top of my head. That snapped my head forward, and I was buried in this sawdust pile. I began to freak out. Well, the cool thing is, when you freak out, the adrenaline kicks in, and I realized I wasn't really stuck. My legs had fallen asleep from being in a weird position, but that freak out on the inside, that fight or flight kicked in, the adrenaline piped in, and I burst out of that thing like somebody shot me out of a shotgun. And I come flying out of there, and I turn around and I start digging furiously, trying to find my backpack because I didn't want anybody to know who I was. My wallet was in there, and I grabbed my bag, and I took off like lightning. I hit the fence. I'm not sure if I jumped it or climbed it, but I don't recall slowing down when I hit it. And I was on my way down the road. Now, a lot of people would say that would be a terrifying experience. But one of the things that I learned through that experience is not everything that protects you from a danger in the world is necessarily something safe that you want to cuddle up with. But it also taught me a lesson that, hey, even when everything around you seems like it's against you, if you look closely, you can find things that will actually shelter you from the storm in your life. So I wouldn't recommend just saying, I'm overwhelmed with the situation. Look for a pile of sawdust. It could just save your life.
When are you writing another book?
It's in the process.
That's an awesome story.
Now, why is the room dead silent right now?
I'm on the edge of
Yeah.
tears.
I think we are processing.
I can hear Wang right now. He said, huh? Yeah, he's my deep thinker. I love that guy. What belief are you left with?
that I can overcome.
I would say that no matter how bad the outside situation looks, there is still a way that you could actually do it, get out of it. So you should just keep going on and trying.
Yeah. That there is something positive in all the negative.
That sometimes hitting rock bottom might actually be a good thing.
Did it change how you look at life?
Yeah.
Was the story effective, or was it just entertaining?
I'd say it
That was
effective.
effective.
That's a properly shared story. I can share stories all day long. I guarantee I'll get you guys laughing so hard you fall out your chair with the stupid crap I've done. But the question is, did it impact you and change you? If it didn't, I entertained you, which means you'll have to come back again tomorrow to be entertained. But if I effectively share my story with you, I only need to connect with you once about that specific idea, that specific thought, that belief. I'll never have to revisit that story in the same way again for you to understand what you understood today, because that story will not leave you. And poor Loretta, she's going to be thinking about that story for a while now. Okay? That's the power of story, because when our story becomes your story, I invite you to be part of it. How many of you felt the wind on your neck?
I felt sawdust on my neck.
Yeah. You felt the sawdust. You felt the snow. Did you feel the vibration of the heavy equipment in the morning? The heat of the day, walking. The feeling of being completely lost and having no direction. Because it became your story. Now ask yourself, this is your homework. How did I make you feel that? What did I say? What did I do to make you feel those things? It wasn't just information. What you want to do is tell the story in a way so that you feel what you felt. How many of you have told a story about something that you went through, but you weren't feeling what you felt the first time? You just told the story. How many do that more often than not? You relay the story instead of share the experience. How can I expect you to feel what I felt unless I feel what I felt? I can only invite you into what I experience. So the more you're willing to experience it fully, the more they will fully experience it with you. You're right. Me talking about my son, I can get very emotional, but it's not negative. Sad? Yes. Joyful? Hell yes. Completely transformed the way that I do life and how I show up every single day, because his death was my rally call. When I realized he did more in 10 months to impact the world positively than I had my entire life. I have no right to sit around and feel bad about it. I have every right to get up every day and say I will impact the world in a greater way than he, because I've got more experience. I don't dare sit back and not be impactful in the world today. I don't dare have a single conversation that doesn't have the potential to reach 1 million people through that connection. If so, how much of my life have I wasted in comparison to the impact that a baby had in only 10 months of his life? But I've learned to reframe that to where this is a hard day, because I've made a habit of saying, what have I done over the last year to honor his life? How have I impacted the world in a way to honor what he taught me? Our story is more powerful than the story we tell. because our story transforms the belief that we have, and our belief dictates our decisions, and our decisions dictate our action. The action is sharing that story. How many of you sitting in this room right now believe that your story, the one you tell yourself, is the story that will change a nation? I wanted to say thank you for taking the time to kick back and enjoy us on a portion of this wonderful workshop in which we talked about story, how to use that, how to change other people's belief on how we tell our story. To sum it up, the keys to remember are that we need to tell our stories, the stories that we lived through, that shaped our belief, that helped us move forward. We need to tell those stories with our audience so that they can experience our story, and therefore they can experience the same transformation that we went through. See, when we share our story with them, we give them the opportunity and the honor, really, of being able to share that experience and also come to their own conclusions and thus change their belief based on what we've gone through. So if you'd like to learn how to do more of that, we invite you to go ahead, continue on further with us. We have more frameworks here in the membership area. We have some different cheat sheets that you can use. They'll be opening up soon. Again, as I've said before, these are going to be released on the 3rd of September, 2022. So I look forward to seeing you guys back here at that time. Until then, make sure that when you use your stories, make sure you use them in a way that leaves you intentional about knowing that your story is about to change the course and the direction of other people's lives. I love you guys. You guys take care, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.